Okay.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you and call to order the May 28th Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. And I would like to remind you of our guiding principles and the actions we're about to take. Are we raising the bar? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building connections with outside partners? And is the decision-making process positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a published agenda. Are there any proposed amendments to this evening's agenda? Councilmember Rosapepe?
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as published.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Rosapepe, a second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the agenda as published. Any comments on the agenda? All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for the evening. We are to our first citizen comment period, which is for any items on this evening's agenda. We have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone wishing to address the council for items on the agenda this evening? And if you're online, use the raise your hand feature and the clerk will bring you into the meeting. Online, Fred says.
Correct, Mayor. There's nobody online.
All right, so no one has stepped to the podium either, so I will close the first citizen comment period. We're to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Morrissey to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent is unanimously approved. We have no presentation. We have no public hearings. So let's jump into our business items. The first of which is item A, adoption of an ordinance authorizing new positions within the Public Works Department. Ms. Lund, this is you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. You have a few items in front of you tonight that are all kind of related to this same topic. This is the first of those. In 2023, the city identified the need to modify the structure of the Public Works Department to address the need for additional non-union supervisory staff to ensure that the city can meet the growing needs of the city. Based on the city's proposal, the city has been in negotiations with the Teamsters Local 589, representing Public Works employees, regarding the restructuring of the Public Works Operations Division. Through these negotiations, the parties reached agreement regarding changes in job titles. So the current Public Works labor position would be retitled to Maintenance Worker Technician 1, Public Works Personnel position to Maintenance Technician 2. Current coordinator positions, of which there are 3 of those, would be retitled to Public Works Leads, and a new position classification of a lead mechanic. Staff is also requesting that the council confirm the qualifications and duties established in the union contract for the positions of mechanic and electrician. As a result of the successful negotiations with the union, the city is also asking to create additional positions as part of that restructuring. So the creation of a position of operations supervisor, creation of a position of utility supervisor, and creation of a position entitled operations and utility manager. So I'm going to just summarize this. Overall, this allows for greater management supervision of a work group of 22-ish employees, plus some seasonal help. We talked with the council about this back in, I believe, January. I mentioned this at a meeting 2 weeks ago. This ordinance simply establishes those positions. We have other agenda items tonight that'll take additional steps related to this, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance establishing new positions and setting general qualifications and duties for positions for the Public Works Department.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey and a second by Councilmember Fenton. Any questions for Debbie? Go ahead, Councilmember.
No, actually, more of a comment. Debbie would like to say thank you for all your efforts on this. I'm sure you probably got string pointing to different positions and different, and also Dennis, I know this is a great tool for you to move forward, so thanks for your efforts on this too. And I know that everybody's been involved in that, but thank you both.
Really a journey that started when we learned that Jackie Brown was going to retire, and we've talked about this at length at the work study, but anytime those retirements or somebody steps away, can we do things differently or better? And I think that this has presented this opportunity, and it just took a while because we had to negotiate some of these changes with our labor group. So, Councilmember Morrissey, go ahead.
Yeah, I just maybe had a question for Ms. Archer, and it's in relation to, is there 3, 4 of these business items that all relate to the same thing? Is there something that we can do that, like, I don't speak for council, but in my opinion, the changing of these names maybe isn't something that should be council-centric, and it should be mayor and staff-centric. We maybe weigh in when it's just impacting our budget. Yeah. Is there something we can change, or
you actually have to approve the organizational chart
every
and anytime a job title, the title and the high level job description. The nuts and bolts of it is administrative, but
I guess I'm asking, can we change that so that we're only doing maybe the financial piece?
Yeah, so the portion that Noah will speak to this evening, which is the budget amendment, is something you would have to do whenever
Correct.
a new position is created. The creation of the position and the high-level job duties, as the mayor mentioned, is the purview of the council, but that is a delegable duty that you could provide to the mayor. Currently, you've given him the ability to create job descriptions in full. You set the high-level duties, but the council could further delegate that responsibility to the mayor. The budget amendment is the primary step that you would need to take, and the delegation would need to be in a formal ordinance. So larger agencies go that route.
Thank you, Ms. Archer. I would also like to say, while I'm in favor of this, I might also share with my fellow council members that I would be in support of what Ms. Archer's talking about.
I kind of like to know what's going on right away.
right.
I think if you don't discuss it, we have to approve the Teamster contracts.
Yeah, so
By changing the verbiage in the contracts and the job titles and the pay scales without discussing the new job titles, we wouldn't know what their positions are and why we're paying them more, why it's escalating.
And I'm with you, and I follow that because I think there are 2 things that can't be changed. Is 1, we still have to approve the contract, and 2, we have to approve the budget. So I'm trying to say that the steps in knowing that, they're going to give us that. We're skipping a step, so they would give us that background to approve the change in contract and the budget. We got an extra step in here that I personally think is unneeded. That's just my 2 cents.
Not always is a position within a union contract either. About a third of our positions are not. So, Councilmember Rosebud.
No, I was just going to say for this one that because we started this several weeks ago, it's kind of nice to follow all the steps in between. So I would prefer to keep things the way they are authorizing. That's my 2 cents.
To the matter at hand, are you comfortable with what? Bring us back in here. So you'll be voting on adoption of an ordinance authorizing new positions within the Public Works Department as described by Ms. Lund. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance has passed. We're to item B now, approval of a memorandum of understanding amending the collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters representing Public Works employees regarding organizational structure and personnel changes. Ms. Lund, this is you again.
Thank you. So yeah, this is the kind of right hand to the left hand piece that you just took action on. And as Councilmember Warden said, this one is changing the union contract. And before I get into this, Thank you, Councilmember Rosa Pepe, for the kind words. This really was a team effort, and again, I want to go on the record thanking the Teamsters Local for being extremely cooperative in this process and looking at the bigger picture for the Public Works Department. So Dennis and his team and Jeff Hagelin out at the shop, a lot of work went into this, and I'm really proud of this work pending your passage tonight. The City of Port Orchard is fortunate to have a good working relationship with the Teamsters Local 589, which represents, amongst others, the Public Works employees working in the Operations Division. Port Orchard is changing and growing. With that change comes opportunities, as cited in the Council's guiding principle to honor the past but not live in the past. The proposal before the Council tonight is for a reorganization of the structure of the Public Works Department. In 2023, the city began evaluating its staffing needs. In December, we began negotiations with the union related to the restructuring. The shop currently has 1 operations manager and 24 union employees. By law, union employees can serve as lead workers and handle day-to-day employee matters, but cannot supervise other union employees. As a result, the operations manager had up to 24 direct reports at any one time. Notably, in the past few years, to alleviate this, we changed the structure slightly by moving the electrician and the 3 coordinators to the utility manager rather than the operations manager. That didn't necessarily resolve the situation for us. The city's plan to increase staffing, supervisory staffing, is generally to eliminate the foreman position, spread the foreman workload amongst 6 rather than 3 lead workers, and add a management non-union role of operations supervisor to the work group. This does not result in an overall change in the number of employees at the shop. Negotiations have concluded. The union has approved the modifications to the collective bargaining agreement. And that bargaining agreement has been sent to you under privilege from the city attorney last Friday. And it's many of the changes I just read in the last ordinance.
Mary.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign an MOU with the Teamsters representing the Public Works employees, memorializing the organizational changes.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Chenary. Was that Councilmember Rosa Pepe on the second? Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilmember Warden?
I have one question. Are our summer help employees required to be union?
They are excluded from the union contract.
That's not the case in all, so I'm glad to hear that.
Other questions or comments? All right. I know we've been talking about this quite a bit, so. All right, you'll be voting on the approval of a memorandum of understanding, amending the collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters representing Public Works employees regarding the organizational structure and personnel changes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the MOU has been approved. We're to item C now. Adoption of an ordinance amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget, Exhibit A, for new positions within the Public Works Department. Mr. Crocker, this is you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. By business item 7C, by this ordinance, the City Council would amend the 23-24 biennial budget as adopted by Ordinance 4622 and amended by Ordinances 1823, 2223, 2923, and 3923. The changes are reflected in Exhibit A, which is identifying the salary and personnel changes and positions of the city. Ms. Lund has already gone through the changes with the council, so this is merely the budget amendment to fund those FTE positions, actually create the FTE positions in the salary table. So with that, the Finance Department would recommend approval of the ordinance as presented.
Councilmember Fenton.
I move to adopt an ordinance amending the 2023-2024 biannual budget for the city of Port Orchard.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fenton and a second by Councilmember Diener. Do you have any questions of Mr. Crocker?
So this particular motion says amending the biannual budget, but we're just setting the pay table, as I understand that, correct?
Correct, yes, you're creating the FTE and setting the pay scales in the biennial budget table.
Perfect. I didn't see in the documentation what an actual fiscal impact would be to these changes. Have we calculated that correctly?
I'm going to ask my colleagues, because I just got back from vacation. I think when we evaluated this, though, we do have appropriate budget authority, but the fiscal impact is a different question, and I don't know, Ms. Lynn, if you have the answer, or Dennis, if you do at your tips.
I don't think it was a ton, but I think there's a little bit of difference, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. If I remember our managers meeting 2 weeks ago, the intent was that because there's a lot of moving pieces here, and we need to bring back accurate numbers.
Okay.
And NOAA has a number of budget amendments related to contracts and other things, and he was going to bundle those together and bring them back at a future date. But we do have sufficient budget capacity to make these changes, but the exact dollar amounts will be approved at a future date.
I do know the reorganization of the Public Works shop was estimated to be 40 to 50,000 spread across a number of utility funds and the general fund. At your retreat, you actually authorized the creation of a new position, which was included in this, and I apologize, I skipped over that in my first report to you on the ordinance. The new position and a promotion of another Public Works employee in the administrative side. Rebecca, our assistant finance director, was working on numbers for that because it gets complicated. It's funded across multiple positions, right? But that was a new position and a promotion that you guys had talked about at the retreat.
So the most significant add is that asset management position
That we're going to add.
that
Okay.
will be funded through the utilities.
But we'll see that dollar amount at a future date.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was another position eliminated. So there's lots of moving parts in this puzzle.
If I'm correct, we did eliminate a position, but we allocate those dollars to other members by giving them raises. So many of the dollars are still there.
So the foreman position did go away, and some of that was pushed down. Some of that also helps to fund the supervisor. And then there's a stormwater position on the engineering side of the house that is being eliminated, and those duties are being spread amongst employees too. So really, there's kind of two moving pieces there.
So is it basically the 50,000 you're talking about divided amongst 22 employees?
It's really more than that, because remember that the stormwater position, we're desperate for engineers. And so from the retreat, we talked about eliminating that position. We pushed those duties around and promoted somebody. And then you also said, let's go out and find an entry-level engineer if we can. So you've authorized that too. So there's a lot of moving parts in this. And there is fiscal impact, but it is largely to our utility funds, because that's where the work these folks are doing. Less at the moment.
Probably less. Yeah, I just want to know what,
Probably less. I just,
for transparency purposes, that's what I'm asking for the general public. Like, no, while that sounds like a lot,
It's less than a couple hundred.
yeah, that dollar amount's going to be minimal. And I kind of knew the answer, but I wanted to see if we had the actual dollar amount. So if we can bring that forward at a future date, that'd be great.
And we will. Perfect. Councilmember Rose Pepe.
No, just point of procedure that that information will be coming to the Finance Committee first before it comes to the full council for vetting. So that's another step in the process also to remind everybody of.
And I think it just kind of bothered me, the motion and the way it was worded, right?
No, I got it.
Yep.
Are you saying we shouldn't vote on it? It goes to the finance committee?
Well, we need to authorize the
No,
position.
no, that's not, no.
The fiscal
Eric,
dollar
what I was saying is that when the dollars and the amendments come forward to the budget, they'll be vetted first by the Finance Committee before it comes to full council. So there's another step in there. It's not just getting the dollar value coming to the council first. The Finance Committee has first shot at almost everything doing
And you
with
already
finance.
vetted it, you're saying.
Well, they hadn't met in this
They haven't met yet.
instance.
Are you following me?
So,
Yeah.
But we have, the
generally,
finance
they
committee
probably
hasn't vetted this information yet. We're just talking about the positionings.
Yeah.
Framework
Ballpark
out
balance.
positions.
I know the ballpark figure, so I'm.
You're pretty close. All right. Any further questions? Okay, you'll be voting on the adoption of an ordinance amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget, Exhibit A, for new positions within the Public Works Department. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. We're to item D now, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters representing Public Works employees regarding global positioning devices. Ms. Lund, this is back to you.
All right, thank you. In December 2023, the Public Works Director became aware of an interest from the finance and the mechanic shop to install global positioning devices, GPS, in city vehicles for the purposes of providing better information to the mechanics of vehicle performance issues, error codes, the need for maintenance, etc. Public Works and Human Resources began negotiating with Teamsters Local 589, representing the Public Works employees, regarding implementation of these devices. Due to the additional information, these types of devices typically capture about employee conduct, such as speeds, braking habits, actual travel locations, and more. The city and the union successfully negotiated an agreement on implementation of these devices. The agreement meets the city's needs as it pertains to the use of the devices, and the union has voted on and approved the agreement relating to the installation of the GPS devices in city vehicles operated by the Public Works employees. This agreement has been provided to you again by the city attorney under privilege in an email on Friday. Staff is recommending the council authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the Public Works employees regarding GPS data.
Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Teamsters representing the Public Works employees regarding global positioning devices for city vehicles.
Second.
By Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Do you have any questions for Ms. Lund?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't tell you how great this is for the employees. We had this on 100 buses, and 99.9% of the time, any issues that came up from the public, we were able to verify and stop them in their tracks. It wasn't an issue with the employee. Sometimes it was a perception. So I'm glad that the union went with this also, and I think it's a benefit to the city.
Another benefit too is the paper mileage logs that everybody's keeping,
Yep.
then are turned into the finance department with data being entered, and we're going to be able to eliminate this paper process, and it's all going to be done electronically through these devices. So, Councilmember Diener?
So I don't really want to stir up a hornet's nest here, but just for sake of discussion, do we get an insurance discount if we were to enable the GPS to capture those other behaviors? I know that I would if I were to sign up with my insurance company and do that.
So I just want to kind of circle on this a little, because again, a lot of this came from finance and mechanics as an initiating point. The whole purpose that we started down this path was about fleet telematics, about the information about the vehicle and when it needs an oil change and when the air filter needs to be changed, that can be relayed to our mechanics and us in-house. So we're not relying on officers in the field or public works people in the field to have to say, hey, I think I need an oil change. That we're having actually information coming back electronically to manage our fleet. So it's just fleet management software from our perspective about really the management of the vehicle.
Are there jurisdictions that do more than what we're doing? In other words, that they monitor the driving behavior of the people out in the field?
I'll take this one. So I've had experience with this type of software for several years, and they've all been in union environments. So it's very specifically stated in these agreements with the union. We don't go on fishing expeditions. We don't look to catch somebody. We want all of our users to know that they're in our vehicles. It instills safe habits and operations. I have monitored them for maintenance activities. I mean, this is a great tool. Some of the other uses is mapping, developing routing for our street sweepers. We were able to reroute our sanitation routes and knocked a day off of the weekly route and didn't have to pay for a $400,000 truck to keep up. So there's lots of tools in this toolbox. You can set alerts if one of my favorite alerts is the seatbelt not being worn, and so I gotta follow up on that quite a bit. So there are several uses for it, but it's a very useful planning tool. It would be the primary use.
Any other uses would have to be bargained.
Okay, fair enough.
And back to your insurance question, I'm not sure. We'd have to look to our insurer with AWC to see if that's a feature that they offer, but I don't think I've seen that previously.
Okay. Is there an application then that's required that goes hand in hand with GPS monitoring?
So how this works is is it UBI sensor? If you had to have your vehicle diagnosed, every vehicle has them these days. So it attaches to that, and it's actually mounted with hardware that's tamper-proof. So it's attached to the vehicle, and so it uses cellular signal to ping the GPS. So I think it's usually like a 3 to 5 second time delay.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, the council has approved the purchase of the software in our budget amendment, so it is budgeted. And we are just getting some test equipment now from our suppliers. We can get this installed in some non-represented vehicles, so we can test the software as well as the hardware, make sure that we're receiving the right data, the right information, and the right kind of mapping charts that we're looking for. So we're in the very early test phase, so this is a great step that, HR has brought forward with the unions to, get to the whole fleet, but right now we're just trying to test it with our non-represented vehicles to get the dongles in, as I call them, and then ensure that the software is transmitting the right data for us.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Chang.
I appreciate your information, Dennis, because this raised the privacy flag to me. However, thinking about it, I'm also realizing that it is a municipal vehicle, and so employees using a municipal vehicle might expect that their behavior could be monitored in a sense. I would second what Scott's saying about the insurance. People have had their personal vehicles convey this information without them knowing, which seems a breach of their privacy. And I guess I was also wondering, in Jay's case, if you were aware of the school having any more public records requests for this kind of information.
Actually not. What happened to us mostly was we'd receive a complaint about speeding or a vehicle being where it shouldn't. And I think Dennis emphasized more of the positives, while I was looking more at the negative side of the coin. It did allow for us for rerouting of vehicles, anything from speed where we could cut down and save gas and stuff. So there's a lot of positives to it, and it was not. And the drivers, they really got on board after the first year because they saw what a benefit it was to them of us having their back instead of them being under the gun all the time. So I'm a big proponent of this, and I think the employees will be too once they see the benefits of it.
The most common call I've ever received was a complaint of a vehicle, erratic driving, and every contractor, municipality in the state of Washington, we're all buying the trucks from the same vendors. So the case was it was always another agency or not one of our vehicles. And I also had a vehicle stolen one time, and it was tracked. So very handy tool.
So it sounds to me like even though we're just dealing with a union situation, moving forward, we'll be doing this, implementing this process across our fleet of the entire city fleet of vehicles.
That's the goal right now, except for the police vehicles fleet. I believe we've stalled out negotiations with them for now. But we want to get the technology in the vehicle, get everyone comfortable with what we're doing, how we're using it, and hopefully we can see some improvements in our fleet management, less driver behavior, but more actually the vehicles themselves, that they're getting more regularly checked, that when there's an issue that we're on top of it and we have better information on the vehicles. Because we put a lot of money into our fleet, and we're investing a lot into our municipal vehicles, as Councilmember Chang said. So we want to make sure that we maintain the best of our ability.
Thank you.
Councilmember Warden, go ahead.
Yeah, where do we get our fuel? I have no clue. Like, where do we get our fuel? Like, a fuel station? We have our own?
I'm not sure of the vendor service through the state, but we do have
No, I'm asking, like, do we have our own fuel station? Do we go to AMPM?
No, the city uses a fuel card service. So we go to the various local stations or if we're out of town. So we don't have our own pumps, no.
As an example, I just put a fuel pump. We have county fuel pumps. I just put the pump in my rig, and it's all uploaded right now. All the information is on there for mileage and whatnot. Before that, last 30 years, we use fuel cards. And that, every time you put your fuel card in there, your mileage is all in there, it's all updated. Would it be cost effective for us to get our own fuel tank versus going to these gas stations and paying market rate prices? That seems like there has to be a cost, it has to be a lot cheaper.
We need real estate to be a biggest.
Real estate?
Real estate to do it in, you know.
Where do we store all our vehicles? We're storing our Vector trucks, we're storing our street sweepers. Where are we storing those?
Have I taken the new council members up?
Well, I know the answer. What I'm saying is, where we're storing it,
Yeah, they're just,
you could put a fuel,
we just don't, I mean, we're using up every inch of that place. We're working towards, and we've got a plan to maybe repurpose one of our other buildings, and just because not only we have, the place is packed with cars, then all of our employees show up with their cars. You know, so it's a dance to get things in and out of there. But we're working towards, whether it's some property we have by the decant facility to put a building, and that could be definitely a possibility. I don't think the dump site would be conducive to it though, because of what's in the ground underneath there. But we do have a facility that we're looking at doing, you know, we got to get a water tower that's in the way, out of the way first, but we've had some meetings internally here just recently about it's an old derelict water tower.
We can't give it away.
We can't. And
We tried.
The bids we've gotten to take
Can
it
it
down.
be repurposed to hold gasoline?
No, the metal's kind of Swiss cheese, but.
Just a question.
I can tell you all the reasons on that one.
It's a good idea. We've got so many needs in Public Works for storing equipment, and
I'm just
right now-
curious the gallon that you would purchase it versus what we're paying
Yeah.
locally at the pumps. I would almost think it wouldn't take long for it to pay for itself. But also, one more question.
Sure.
Was this negotiated as part of the wage increases?
Completely separate. It's happened simultaneously because of the timing, but
I
not
know
related.
you guys purchased some previous and whatnot, but I was just curious because for the Teamsters saying, go for
No,
it.
again, they were very cooperative. They just wanted to understand it. So we had a couple demos, and just as we were all trying to kind of understand, and that'll be the nice thing about the test project as well.
I definitely know the benefits of knowing where your Vector trucks are at all times for spills, and you can't get a hold of employees because they're out there working, but yet you need a Vector truck for a line break, and you can go get a hold of them because you know exactly where they are. I mean, I definitely get it. But.
Councilmember Diener?
I was just going to say, we went out to the Public Works site 4 years ago. Might be worth seeing if everybody can go out there once again. I mean, it was tight on space then. I imagine it's even tighter now with
Buying equipment, yeah.
Well, yeah, we're just growing. So I think when the time's right, we should all go back out there and have a look around, including the proposed site for future development.
I agree, yeah.
We got to make sure it's going to work first. And the first step is getting the doggone water tower down. Because as long as it's there and in the way, we can't do much with a piece of real estate. So, all right. Got all your questions answered? Yes. Okay. You'll be voting on the approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters representing Public Works employees regarding global positioning devices. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the memorandum of understanding has been approved. We're to item E, which is adoption of a resolution approving a small works contract with Specialized Pavement Markings LLC for the 2024 City of Port Orchard Road Striping Project. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. A few weeks ago, we spoke of thermoplastic traffic markings. Tonight, we are going to discuss the long line yellow and white striping. As we discussed previously, this is something that's done every year. No longer can we use oil-based paint in roadway because of stormwater implications. The City of Port Orchard conducts the annual updates to the road striping system. Before you is a resolution that would authorize the mayor to contract with Specialty Pavement Markings LLC for the 2024 road striping project. A list of qualified contractors was compiled from the Small Works roster, and an invitation bid was sent to 5 contractors. Specialized Pavement Markings LLC submitted the only bid received at $103,160.02, which was deemed the lowest and most responsive. The Public Works has confirmed that all bidding requirements were met. The staff recommendation is that council authorize the mayor to approve this resolution, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Rose Pepe.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Specialized Paving Marking LLC for the 2024 City of Port Orchard Road Striping Project in the amount of $103,160.02.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe and a second by Councilmember Fenton. Do you have any questions about road striping? Go ahead.
Just real quickly, I noticed that a budget amendment may be required. What was our budget for that this year?
I'm going to need him probably to get back to you on the exact
Okay.
budget amount for that.
Yeah. Sorry to steal your thunder, John.
Councilmember Chang?
Yeah, Dennis, do we have to say it's the lowest bid when it's the only bid that we got?
We probably don't have to say that.
Not wrong.
Sure.
It's pursuant to your policy that you state the procurement procedures that you utilized and why you fit within the procedures. That's simply the deciding factor when it comes to the procurement rules. So it's a habit.
Councilmember Dino, go ahead.
Dennis, any speculation on why this was the only bid we received?
This is a industry, pavement markings and painting. Many agencies used to heavily rely on larger agencies. When I was at Clark County, they striped for 12 western states of Washington. The larger agencies aren't doing the interlocals with the smaller agencies anymore, so I suspect that private contractors are more busier than they typically have been, and it's a very short weather window.
Thank you.
Mr. Ryan, so I scroll down further and I see all the linear feet and the cost per linear. Is this every single road in the city?
It has a stripe on it.
It is. Okay, perfect. And then Councilmember Rosa Pepe stole my other question, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Ryan, so 2 weeks ago, we did a thermoplastics. We approved a thermoplastics agreement with, I believe, Stripe Right. I believe, doesn't much matter. And this one with Specialized Pavement Markings takes care of our side of the road markings. Are there any other roadside paintings or markings or things for the public benefit we'll be having to deal with this year?
I will not bring anything else this year to council for approval. This will be our, this is our traffic markings that will be contracted.
That was a bold
that was bold,
statement.
yeah.
I believe that you won't bring anything else related to thermoplasty or striping. I'm certain you'll be back at the next meeting asking for something.
I will clarify that response. We are able to do small quantities of thermoplastic. So if a turn arrow or a crosswalk came up, we would be able to do that internally. So I do not anticipate coming back for any other pavement markings this summer.
A crosswalk.
He neglected to say the word pavement markings in the first bold statement he made. All right.
And Mayor, may I just follow up?
Question's been answered?
To answer the question on budget, we budget about $80,000 per fiscal year for striping and buttons. So we have a little bit of savings from 2023 that we could allocate to 2024 to bring us up to about $90,000 of available funding for that.
Close.
Do you know what we spent last year? Curious.
Less. Because we had
Less than 90 or less than
less than the 80.
the 103? Okay. So it's just
We had a little bit of savings from last year.
inflation's terrible on striping this year. Okay.
Paint.
Ah. Well.
Everything. It's expensive.
And to go back, the availability of contractors, the past few years, there has been shortage of getting the traffic grade paint. So that's part of the market too.
So it looks like last year we spent about $70,000 on road striping.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We're about 13 over, yep, okay.
Other questions? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution approving a small works contract with Specialized Pavement Markings LLC for the City of Port Orchard road striping project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract has been approved. We're to item F now, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Skillings, Inc. for construction support services. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Good evening again. Previously, we've discussed with council that the city would seek the procure services of construction project management. We are looking for this work for the Lincoln and Mitchell roundabouts and the Pottery non-motorized project. Currently, we are recruiting for an assistant city engineer, which has been vacant for several months. We are continuing to do that process, but as we get into the busy season, we felt that this was the best path forward to meet our workload. The city of Port Orchard is experiencing record growth, leading to multiple public works projects scheduled for construction in 2024. Due to the limited staff resources, the Public Works Department identified the need to expert construction support services. These services are aimed at supporting the construction phase of the planned roadway projects and associated utilities. And I'm happy to answer any questions. This total contract would be for not to exceed $150,000 with Skillings.
Councilmember Warden.
I move to adopt the resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Skillings, Inc. for construction phase, contract administration, and in the amount of $150,000 and documenting the professional services procurement procedures.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Warden, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Of course, we would rather have our own employee to do this work. We're just, with all the projects we've got going, nobody has any capacity in our engineering department to do the inspection work and manage another projects. So we need an agent representing the city doing that inspection work, and that's what this represents. This is the Mitchell and Lincoln Roundabout project that we've got underway. So hopefully we won't have to do this in the future, but until we get our engineering positions filled, this is what we've got to do to manage the construction projects we're doing. Councilmember Warden?
How long do you expect? So this contractor's, is that a year salary? A project salary? Are we coming back for more salary?
I would.
If the project exceeds a year?
Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, this is for the entirety of the project.
One roundabout?
The roundabout project. But you're right, if I had an employee, they could manage that project and do other things. I just don't have that employee.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking, are we going to, if this exceeds a calendar year, are we gonna, is it a calendar year? And if it does exceed one calendar year?
Defer to Mr. Ryan.
One calendar year, yeah.
I believe this was one calendar year. This is also for the pottery project.
Okay, so they're managing two projects.
Yes, we felt that economies of scale, we would get the best value to the city by doing both projects.
Okay, I missed that one. Okay, so to Councilmember Warden's question, this gets us to the end of the year. I know the Cedar Heights project will be done. And the roundabout project also should be done because we're going to construct it. It'll be largely constructed by the time school starts in the fall. So
this is not an annual salary. This is a project salary.
This is managing the two projects.
And we did provide verbiage in the contract, so various other projects. So if there was capacity and we needed help still, we could still retain this contractor. So.
Councilmember.
Yeah, Mr. Ryan, so say we find somebody next month. We have enough work to keep them busy in addition to keeping on this, because I didn't see anything in the contract around termination and what we'd still be on the hook for. It didn't say whether or not we're still on the hook for the full $150,000.
So let's say somebody walked in the door tomorrow and wanted a job, and it would take us, months before they're up to speed on everything we're doing here. We'd be lucky if
we would be lucky. I hope we're lucky.
In the fourth quarter, that this person is
up and going,
and understanding everything we do, and there's plenty of work. Matter of fact, if they had design skills, we have the need for a public works facility. We could put them on a design for other, I mean, there's tons of work. We could keep them busy, and them and another person, no doubt about it.
We did phrase the contract, it's an up to amount, so there's no guarantee that those services would be required. I do want to point out, compared to our nearby agencies or any other agency similar in size, we're probably running at least double the project workload right now. So this will be a big support.
Half the authorized engineers. So we're
And Mr.
struggling.
Mayor, just to clarify, there is a clause for termination in the contract. It's at page, excuse me.
122 and 123, I believe. I didn't see any dollar figures that went around that and what we'd still be paying out on that contract.
Right, so it would
Maybe
be,
I missed
we'd
it.
be obligated to pay any, it's paragraph C1, so if it were with or without cause, any work performed prior to the date of termination, and there'd be no benefits for a reallocation of cost, profit, or overhead. This is our template language.
Okay.
So there won't be a dollar figure, but conceptually, that's what they'd be entitled to.
Okay, thank you.
But it probably wouldn't make sense if we're halfway through the project.
No, I agree. This is a,
Divorce ourselves.
yep,
and-
nope, I
Yeah.
fully understand what you're saying.
Horse is never good.
Oh, it isn't.
So, would this non-employee, consultant, contractor, would they fall under your management?
Ultimately, everybody falls under my management,
Well-
but they would work directly for Dennis Ryan.
Okay. Right. So, example, recently, that pump station over there, we had issues one morning with lack of communication, whatnot. And you stated like, that's their job site. That's their job site. So the roundabout, if we have issues with that, is that your job site, or are we hands off because?
So it's apples and oranges here a little bit. So
Oh,
there's still.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree that that's their job site.
Right,
I
and
agree.
there's a contractor on that roundabout that's their job site. And this person is managing the inspection work for that work and not involved in the communications aspect of it. That's still us.
So that, but this falls underneath you.
Ultimately, yes. Yeah, ultimately, yes. But they're not, I have 6 direct reports, and there's 110 employees around here these days-ish. So.
That one's gonna get the most noise with traffic issues and all that.
Yep, so, but good question.
And we would handle it just like any of our consultants. I mean, they're going to report, Chris Hammer, city engineer, that they're going to have daily reoccurring check-ins with that person.
Other questions? All right, you'll be voting on a resolution approving a contract with Skillings, Inc. for construction support services. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been approved. We're to item G now. Approval of a purchase and sale agreement for Kitsap County tax parcel number 4650-0015-006-0007 for additional staffing needs. Mr. Ryan, it's you.
Due to the city's growth and increased staffing needs, the city council authorized the purchase of an office building adjacent to the Department of Community Development building in November of 2023. Initial agreement, the city executed a purchase and sale agreement with the owners of Kitsap County tax parcel number 4650-015-006-007. However, the sale was terminated by the sellers. Despite the termination, the city has continued to pursue the transaction. A second purchase and sale agreement has been negotiated with the proposed expedited closing date of May 31st, 2024. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute the PSA and maintain a $10,000 in earnest money, which was previously deposited during the earlier potential transaction. The council approves, if approved, 1.95 million for the purchase during the 2023-2024 mid-biennial review budget amendment, with the intent to be reimbursed from the future borrowing proceeds.
Councilmember Chang.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the purchase and sale agreement and all documents necessary to effectuate the purchase of tax parcel number 4650-015-006-007, to authorize $10,000 in earnest money and to ratify all actions taken prior to this authorization, but consistent therewith.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Trenary. And that language related to a borrowing, just, we're purchasing this with cash. It's in case we need cash. You guys have given us the ability, and which then we would need to come back to you if we chose to, at a future date, to borrow money. We have an asset that we could borrow money against. Did I say that correctly, Noah, or mostly right?
I'm going to pivot it just a little bit.
Okay.
All right. We adopted a reimbursement resolution in anticipation of, as we look forward to cash flow needs for other capital projects, that we could finance this if we so choose to. At this moment in time, cities, you choosing to use the cash surplus we have available to do that. And I'm just going to leave the statement there because I think you want to be very careful with when you're talking about debt and intended use of it, because we would never leverage an asset to cover other operating costs, for example. We would only use it for capital purposes.
So it is not our intent to go borrow money, even though it says that. It's just gives us the ability at a future date to borrow money to pay ourselves back from our cash. So Councilmember Rosepepe?
Yeah, a couple of points. One, unless I'm reading this wrong, it looks like the contract came under about $180,000 of what we originally authorized back in December. So that's a good point. Second one, I know it sounds like a broken record, but nobody's making any more land. So I'm very happy that we're moving ahead with this purchase. And also it keeps it on Prospect Street. So that kind of gives us a campus, a city campus, so for one-stop shopping as people have their work, have to go back and forth. So I'm definitely in favor of this. I know there will be some offsets as we have tenants in there, whether it's a short-term or long-term agreement. That will help defray some of the costs, so that's another benefit. So I strongly support this, and I appreciate the mayor and staff getting some of the fixes done that we didn't have to incur. So thank you for holding their feet to the fire, Mayor.
Yeah, and when we built the budget, that $1.9 million number, we knew the property was going on the market. We didn't know what that list price was going to be. It appraised for the list price, so we are paying the list price, but it appraised for that dollar amount. The reason the deal fell apart previously, there was asbestos that needed to be remediated in the building, and we wanted that done prior to us closing on it. So that asbestos has been remediated. Some of it sealed in place, others of it completely removed. We've done thorough inspection of the building. I will say, we have some additional budget authority, as Jay pointed out. The building is in need of an exterior paint job. It's okay, but it doesn't look as good as it could. And if we can procure a contractor this summer, it'd be nice to, because that's something that needs to happen during the summer to keep the building looking nice. And the heating system in the inspections, it's tired and likely needs to be replaced. And the seller, it does work. And so the seller said, I'm not willing to buy you a new heating system. It does work, but we negotiated back and forth on that point also. But here we are, and we need parking and office space, and there is a year and a half remaining on the lease with Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office. We have to honor that lease, and as soon as we close on this, which would be end of the week, I intend to reach out to the county and talk to them about potentially getting some parking out of this and looking long-term at the opportunities to extend that, but I can't have those conversations until we own the building. So, Councilmember Morrissey?
Follow-up question to Mr. Crocker. I would assume you're pulling that out of general fund, so then we'd be jockeying funds, or we talked about potentially needing funds for other projects in the future. So if we were going to borrow, we would be replacing back into general fund, or
yeah, that'd be correct.
Okay. Just trying to make I follow that completely. Additionally, what is the total value of the inherited lease? So that we can know the complete financial impact to the city.
I believe it's, Mitch is in the audience. I think it's $6,500 a month is what we're getting. Is it?
Times how many months?
A year and a half.
They got a year and a half left? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, might be, it could be more than that, but there's a lease in place that we are required to honor. And it would, we could use that space inside the building. It's more about parking today. But we are leasing space over here. If the county chose not to renew that lease, then we would likely move into that building and then step out of the lease that we have across the street.
So that effectuates, almost $150,000 off that price, right? That we will have come back in. So that's, yep.
Councilor Dean.
I just had a quick question, just for scale of parking. How many county employees are working in that building? Do we know?
There's 19 parking stalls, and there's about 18 offices in the office, but I don't know how many employees at this point. It appears to be underutilized when I walk by it. So I think there's an opportunity.
You said 10.
Does the current lease, I'm not sure if Mitch knows or you might know, but does the current lease require the county to do maintenance if the furnace goes out and things like that?
We're responsible for mechanical.
But that's what the current lease.
Yes. Yeah, they're responsible for some things, but the mechanical, the roof, it's got a brand new roof that was just put on it, and we're responsible for the elevator, the heating system. So
we used to lease a building years ago, and for the county, and we were on the hook for everything. So, but
Two quick questions. Let's see if I remember them. Is there any unused space in the building that?
No, and it's.
Or the county's using it all?
They're using it all, and it's a secure facility.
And what are the closing costs, or what will the total purchase price be with closing costs? Do we know?
Gosh, I saw that earlier.
$1,762,037.
No, but he's referring to the closing costs. I saw it, the title.
I'm sorry, what?
1.759 is the sale price, and then closing costs are estimated at $3,000 or so.
$3,000.
$3,000 for closing costs?
Title escrow.
Yeah, it's not.
Further questions? All right, you'll be voting to approve a purchase and sale agreement for an office building for additional staff needs. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the purchase and sale has been approved. Congratulations, Mitch.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So, we're to item H, approval of amendment number 5 to contract number 048-23 with Lincoln Construction, Inc. for the City Hall renovation project. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Before you is a resolution for change order number 5 for the City Hall remodel project with Lincoln Construction. Change order number 5 addresses issues related to the light fixtures in the police evidence room. That one is a very minor item for about $600. It was not part of the original scope because it was a secure area, and so it was not part of the design. The primary expenditure is the waterproofing weatherization in the planter beds where we've been having water intrusions. That was discovered while the project was being done and the siding came off and the windows were getting repaired. And so it was determined that that needed to be replaced. And then the last part is privacy film for restroom windows. This increases the contract total by $136,783.49, including applicable tax, resulting in a new contract total of $9,375,578.74. I also want to state that there could be additional items that come to further change orders. I don't anticipate any large amounts, but things that we are discovering as part of this project are necessitated, and that's when the decision to replace is being made. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute change order number 5 to contract number 48-23 with Lincoln Construction Incorporated for the City Hall renovations project to add an amount of $136,783.49 for a new contract total of $9,375,578.74 with applicable tax.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Two items that I am aware of that to be changed. One, NOAA did confirm, based on your guys' direction, we have enough money left in in the overall budget to replace this carpet. So that'll be the biggest ticket item coming in a future change order. And window coverings, because all of these windows openings were altered. More than half of the window coverings in the building were mini blinds that were in very poor condition. We had some new, on the sunny side of the building on the second floor, we had nicer and newer roller shades. And some of them are gonna work and some of them may not because the window opening size has changed. So until we go to move back in downstairs and attempt to hang those blinds, we won't know which ones fit and which one won't fit. And so there could be a change order related to that too. Unfortunately, we're replacing some window coverings that just don't fit any longer, and then replacing the mini blinds that on this floor and downstairs to match those roller shades that we have everywhere else. So those are the two that I'm aware of.
And I do, with exactly what you said, that this is project related. We are using this room more than ever, and the seam is starting to show, so we're starting to lose our carpet. So these are things that we have to do. We're just not deciding to do it at the last minute, so it's necessitated.
And we talked about that a month ago, that, yeah, it was a lot of money for the carpet, but carpet's expensive, and it'll be more expensive 3 years from now when that seam starts coming up, so. Councilor Diener, you have a question?
Just pulling on that thread a little bit, we also talked about what if the space gets reprogrammed? And if that decision is going to be underway relatively soon, then I would say we hold off on carpeting until we know what that looks like.
I would say we are 6 or more years away from that, and the carpet we're using is carpet squares.
Mm-hmm.
That can, that way, unlike this type of style of carpet, we can change something else that gets damaged or ruined. So,
I imagine that discussion also involved the community center and whether that was going to be available.
Yes, but we're a ways out. We're a ways out from that, and buying this other office building too gives us additional breathing room too. But that it is something, 7 to 10 years from now, a future council should be considering is how to best use this space here, and whether or not they want to meet at the community center, and whether that's appropriate or not. But we don't have to solve that today. You have a question?
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand how we get change orders and stuff, but it seems like we get a request every time we come to a city council meeting. But it sounds like we already put this in the budget, so.
So the total project budget, we are still working within our contingency amount. So we are not over budget for the total project budget. So we are still operating within our contingency.
So you approved so we have a project budget with a bucket of dollars, but then you authorized the contract, okay? And Dennis has change order authority up to $50,000. I have change order authority up to $100,000, provided though those don't exceed the budget, the bucket of dollars that we have. And if we need more dollars, then we've got to talk to you guys about it. And then as these change orders accumulate, like this one was the biggest ticket was the drainage, which was 100 and change. That's beyond my authority. So we have to come to you guys and talk about that before we tell the contractor it's good to go.
Right.
But the biggest was the furniture.
Yeah, that was a big.
And that wasn't anywhere in this.
Yeah, the furniture was previously approved, but it really wasn't part of the building, construction.
Oh, no, not this. I'm saying as far as to changeovers that we've had, the previous ones.
Yeah. But this one you're approving now actually exceeds that. So, but we don't want water in the, when we're all done, we don't want water coming in the building anymore. So, Councilmember Morrissey, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of quick things, and pardon me as I do get on my high horse on this one. One, the change order from the furniture isn't listed in
Because it's not
the number.
part of the construction. And we would pay overhead and sales tax and everything through the contractor. We
Okay.
purchase that directly.
So that one's
from the-
separate.
Separate.
Separate contract.
And
Yet
not,
to
and
come.
not part of the construction
Yet
project.
to come.
No, it was,
No, because we approved it. I'm just trying to put that back in my head.
Yeah.
But it still falls within the budget of the project.
I'm going to defer to the finance director on that, how he paid for that.
Yeah, so, okay, to back this up a little bit, we issued bonds, LTGO bonds, general obligation bonds, and the intent is to pay for the entire project with those bonds. So we issued about $11 million of proceeds. With that, we put in a contingency, all our projects, we put in a contingency amount ranging from 10 to 20%, depending on the project, and depending on Public Works' official opinion on what the risk is. So we put in probably 10%, almost $1 million of contingencies when we started this project, because we didn't know, once you start pulling that siding off, what you're going to find. So every time a change order comes forward, I back down my contingency balance. And so with this approval of this and some of the other kind of items I identified with the project manager, things that might be coming up, we don't know yet. But again, I'm trying to plan ahead to make sure we have some contingency fundings in a month or two. We would be about $150,000 of additional contingency funding available for anything that we're not thinking about, not aware of, don't know at this point. So at this point, after talking with Jeff, we think we've captured everything that would complete the project and still leave us $150,000 of contingency funding available, if that makes sense.
Okay. I follow that, but that's not what was in my packet, so thank you for that clarification. And then I think you said something else, because that led to my next question around a project manager. You said we have a project manager?
Yes.
Okay.
He's an employee.
He's an employee of the city?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The project manager for this project, it's one of our inspectors. So I project manage some projects independently. We have lots of project managers.
Okay. So that's where my high horse comes in. I would love for the city, and I would advocate all my fellow council members to advocate for an official project manager for the city. While there are things within this particular project that cannot be foreseen, the planters being one of them, you can't know till you get in there. I think there are some things, did I read in here, we're having to fix the evidence room in the police station as part of that maybe an official project manager would have caught during all that, because as that waterfall process would work through, should have been caught up ahead of time, or other things that could be. So I'm still for this. I just want to put in that plug.
I would argue that we have experts in various areas. Some are utility, and you know, some guys are. Jeff has expertise in this facet, and he's doing other projects that are in his skill set. So work's assigned by skill set, and we've got folks that are experts at examining pipes in the ground. For somebody to have a skill set that's buildings and pipes in the
So
ground.
I'm going to push back right now on that one, because a project manager would not have missed furniture, right? So there are just some quick and easy things that I think that would have been handled in that process. So
We didn't miss furniture. We never intended it to be part of the construction project, okay? And this project has been going on for 4 years.
Okay.
Probably
Well.
from design to getting it to the finish line. Just when we developed the budget internally, we didn't put the furniture that we knew wasn't going to be in this contract to build the building, because it wasn't part of the building, because we wouldn't want to pay the general contractor to buy us furniture, because we would pay markup on it.
Okay, that just was not the way that was presented to council when we approved that. I believe there were words that actually said, we missed this, and so that's why I say that, so.
Okay. We did miss it largely in the budget process.
I'm still just going to advocate a project manager in all the places, whether it's been banking, what I do, fixes a lot of things when you have that official certification.
Other questions or comments?
Mayor, may I?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the timeline of employee hires, but I don't even believe the project manager worked for us at the time. So there was been a lot of changeover, a lot of growth in the city over the last year and a half. So I don't believe we even had Dennis here. I don't think we had Jeff here. I think we were very limited staff at the time. Not as an excuse. I'm just trying to give some color to the fact that now we have a designated project manager.
When you
for
have
the
an
project.
employed project manager, guess what? You got a catch-all for when that turnover happens, right?
Yeah, you got somebody really trying to lead the charge on that. And I think Jeff's doing a great job to help staff, communicate moving strategies, moving the pod. So he's doing a great
This
job.
is not a statement on anybody's work before. I just think when you got that catch-all, I always want somebody behind me trying to make sure that I don't catch everything myself. We're all human in some aspect. When you have that backup who can be used in public works, in finance, in IT, they have a way of poking holes in things that the rest of us don't see. So.
Comments or questions about the amendment to the contract? All right, you'd be voting on amendment number 5 to contract number 048-23 with Lincoln Construction for the City Hall renovation project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract amendment has been approved. We're to item I now, adoption of a resolution approving an easement for Puget Sound Energy for commercial electric facilities work for the McCormick Woods well site. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. Before you is a resolution for the Well 11 site for a easement with Puget Sound Energy. The project is a priority task for the City of Port Orchard's Public Works Department. Existing wells in 1 and 2 are scheduled to be decommissioned, and the city needs to improve Well 11 as it will be the sole drinking water source for the McCormick Woods well field. Project improvements include upgrade pump station, variable frequency drive, booster pumps, yard piping, tank restoration, and setup for a future water filtration system. The project requires the installation of a Puget Sound Energy commercial 3-phase underground line extension and conversion of a transformer into a handhole. To perform the work set forth in the contract, the city must provide PSC with an easement across the city's property to construct, operate, and maintain, and repair, and replace, improve, remove, and upgrade, and extend the utility systems associated with the project. And a little bit additional background, this well was originally a McCormick-owned well. So we had a shared line that also served the golf course. So this will be a sole easement for Well 11 power source. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Warden.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the grant of an easement to PSE for work associated with the McCormick Woods Well Number 11 Site Improvement Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Wharton, a second by Councilmember Fenton. Questions about the well easement for Puget Sound Energy? Pretty straightforward.
A little one. When you decommission those 2 wells, how do you do that?
So I'm not sure if these will be capped or if they will be a stop like with a bentonite stop, but I imagine they would be capped. So.
Curious. And then that Well 11, the drinking water is still coming from Bremerton, right?
No, this will be sourced right there at Well 11 site.
Well, we drilled years ago, and we're just now getting around to bringing it online. And it has more capacity than we have water rights right now to pump. Once Foster is approved and we get our additional water rights, this is designed with a variable speed pump, and we'll be able to flip a switch or turn a valve, whichever it is, and draw additional water to maximize the capacity that this well is able to produce. But we can only draw as much water as we have water rights for at this time. All right, other questions? All right, you'd be voting to approve a resolution for an easement for Puget Sound Energy for commercial electric facilities for the McCormick Woods Well 11 site. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The easement has been approved. Or to the April 23rd meeting minutes. I'm just going to look to see who is absent.
I was on Zoom, so.
I was absent.
Absent, there was one. So is there a motion to approve the April 23rd meeting minutes? Councilmember Rosepepe.
Mayor, move to approve the April 23rd meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rosepepe, a second by Councilmember Terneri to approve the council meeting minutes from April 23rd. Are there any proposed amendments or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And is there one abstention?
I abstain.
All right, that concludes our business. We have one discussion item, which would be getting back to, we talked about, I think it was at last business meeting, the guiding principles in our discussion item. And I think the clerk attempted to capture your thoughts, and there's a proposed guiding principle that the clerk put into the packet. Is that what you recall? Or do you wish to modify it?
Oh, I do recall all that, and I like everything, how we were going. There's a little theme that's, for the first three, or are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And this last one, I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking maybe we can stick with the theme. When I was reading this, is a decision-making process, building a diverse, equitable, and inclusion community. That didn't really flow that well with me, so I was
the word is inclusive.
Inclusive, yeah. What did I say? See? Sorry. So I was thinking, since we're kind of keeping the theme, are we? And so for the last one, and you guys will let me know what you think, are we putting our community first as we build upon diversity, equity, and inclusion? I thought that maybe flowed a little bit nicer.
A lot more words. Councilmember
Yeah.
Rosepepe?
Yeah, I like it the way it is. It's a lot more straightforward, reads better. I know it'd be nice to put R, in all of them, but I think this reads as is, and I would go ahead with the four as they're written.
I would agree with what Jay's had to say there as well.
I think it was a really good compromise, and everyone had good conversation in it, and I thank you guys for having a good civil conversation.
And I'm comfortable with the changes as they show here on our staff report.
I concur.
So do we need a motion to move this
No,
forward,
were
or
these-
is just a?
Charlie, I don't know that these
since they're-
initially came about through a retreat process and were never really adopted. I mean,
I believe Brandy mentioned they were adopted by resolution, or she was
they?
going to look into it. I don't know if she's online, but yeah, we were confirming whether they were originally adopted by resolution.
If
That
we
would
need to-
not be unusual.
if we need to bring them back as a resolution, we will. But if we don't, go ahead, Brandy.
Mayor, I did look into it, and we've never adopted them by resolution. It was always just presented at the council retreat and in the summary.
That was my recollection.
Yeah, since these are our guiding, that's what I remember, and since these are our guiding principles, it's not for the council.
Well, they are your guiding
Yeah,
principles.
That's what I'm saying,
I mean,
is do we need a?
if you want to adopt them as a resolution, we can. Otherwise, you've given direction, and we're
I'm
going to carry
comfortable
it
with
out.
these. Yep.
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah.
Okay.
move
I mean,
forward.
we're middle of next month. This room is getting gutted. That's coming off the wall, and we'll work towards getting a new.
But for now, when you open the meetings, when the mayor pro tem opens the meeting, these will be
Yes.
our new guiding principles.
I will have the clerk amend our agenda.
Great.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
When do we start the new practice of changing the flow?
That is there's a number of code changes that Charlie is working on. They're going to all be packaged together, and I can't remember what was the date,
They're almost done, so the plan, I believe, was to bring it to the first meeting in June for initial discussion.
Discussion item and then probably passing that the end of June.
Correct, yeah.
Provided you guys are comfortable with all the changes she proposes. So we'll put that on there as a discussion item. All right, we will get the agendas updated and then work towards when we move back in here in the fall, that it'll reflect that on the wall. Let's see here, council committees. Let's run through those. Economic Development and Tourism. Have you met since your last report? I don't believe you had. I didn't think you had. Utilities.
I have one update.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, no, we don't have a meeting scheduled yet, but we had a tour scheduled for this Friday, and due to a conflict, we'll have to cancel that, and that's currently not being rescheduled at this time.
Right, and Finance was supposed to meet last week, but the Finance Director was on vacation, so he sent the reports out to everyone on the council. So we'll be meeting again next month at the evening of the work study. Transportation was this week, and it was this evening, and it was canceled. I know that Chris was meeting at, and I'll just report on that since it's appropriate. The KRCC's transportation, let's see, I'm TransPaul, he's TransTax, so he's his peer group is the Transportation Advisory Board, and they today voted and met to make a recommendation to the board that I'm on that will meet on Thursday for the countywide funding, and our Bethel Lund roundabout design and right-of-way acquisition is in the funding package.
Nice.
So also, I think it was listed as number 2. Number 1 was the county's project that marries right to ours, which is the roundabouts going up Lund towards Jackson, was also funded. And then there weren't any other South Kitsap projects. The remainder of the list was other county projects, other city projects. But as was recommended by his committee, which then has to go to the policy board of that group, and then from there it goes to the full KRCC board first Tuesday in June for adoption. And I've never seen in all my years, once the recommendation's made, everybody agrees, it balances. It's pretty much formality from here out. So it's pretty exciting that we're going to have funding to fund that design and that right-of-way acquisition. So.
Did you say the counties was at the intersection of Jackson and Lund?
No, it's Lund, improvements to Lund, a complete street. They've got a couple of projects there, and it's the second phase of that. I believe it's a roundabout and a complete street. I think the roundabout's at Chase, I think. It's a county's.
It's by the crossing the entrance of the skate park, where Chase is located.
So they've got a complete street planned from our project to Jackson. And so so they're building projects, and then we'll have our project. It'll be very nice when it's all done.
Slow down traffic.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure the county pays attention to complaints and so on.
It is in the county. So, all right, I just thought I'd bring that. That's why Chris canceled the meeting, because he was at that very important meeting advocating on our behalf. Land use.
Yes, we met on May 22nd, had a good meeting. The 3 highlights out of it was we're still working on the comprehensive plan, and Nick and Jim are still looking for input from council members on that. So if you get a chance to review it, please do. The 2 areas that we talked about on that were the middle housing comprehensive plan policy analysis, and the big issue with that is to see if there was any barriers in our comprehensive plan on that, and right now there's not. The Bethel sub-area plan was just looking at how that was progressing, again, as it rolls into the comprehensive plan. We also talked about the Givens Park remodel. We're at 60% design with, again, trying to get the action due this fall for the building, which is awesome. And the last thing we talked about was non-conforming uses and structure. We had a discussion about that because we had one petition for it. We're looking at it holistically. We had a good discussion, and we have to ask a legal opinion before moving this forward. So I'll be coming to you, Charlie, at some point in time if it hasn't already, and then we'll bring it to the council. So that's my report, and I'm sticking to it unless Eric or Scott have anything else to add.
The drawings that we saw for Gibbons, that really interests me a lot. It looks really good. The layout, the design of it, I think the community over there and pickleball players, tennis players, all of them, I think are really gonna like it a lot, so.
Great project. Okay, and mostly grant funded.
Right.
Okay, lodging tax hasn't started its process, and I don't believe sewer advisory has met.
We have a meeting scheduled in June, and I'll make sure that we have that date on the calendar.
Okay, on to the mayor's report. So we have our next meeting, first meeting in June, will definitely be in the chambers here. I'll have better answers here in the next couple weeks as we look at the construction schedule. We start to move in the middle of June downstairs, and the contractor will start in here. The court has to be able to function on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I still haven't seen what all that schedule looks like. So we just need to be flexible, and we might need to have some online meetings during this construction process. You know, I don't think we want to be in here in a dusty, dirty environment if we can avoid it, so.
Did I recall you stated if we are online, the public still?
We'll have to, correct. We will have to have a place for the public to watch the meeting if they wanted to come and watch the meeting. So we would probably set that up in a conference room downstairs and make a place, because we need to provide an opportunity to, you know, we'll have basically a Zoom set up there. If somebody wanted to give public comment, they need to be able to provide that comment. So it would definitely, we'd have at least a staff member down, you know, in a conference room to do that during that workaround. But ideally, we'll be in here. But if for some reason we can't, and I'll communicate as soon as we know more here in the coming weeks. We aren't going to have a June work study because myself and 3 council members will be down in Vancouver at the Association of Washington Cities Conference, and that conference kicks off in the afternoon on Tuesday. Look forward to seeing you there. We get 3 voting delegates at the business meeting, and at the business meeting, the board will be the candidates for the new board positions, which, as the outgoing past president, I am the one that is facilitating those interviews with a committee. That's happening on Monday and Tuesday. Also, there is going to be edits to the AWC policy statement that will be voted on at that board meeting, and there are no bylaws changes to the organization being proposed, and none can be proposed from the floor. So I would appreciate it if, since I'm a past president, the opportunity to be one of our voting delegates, and we're allowed 2 more. So if you guys want to let me know who wants to do that, or maybe I need to tell AWC who our voting delegates are. And that's on Thursday is the business meeting. I think it's Thursday.
You want us to rock, paper, scissors it, or?
I'd like to do it.
And you can do it.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may interject. I went ahead and seen that come through, and I can go ahead and make the changes if there is different direction from the council tonight. But I knew that one of the council members that are attending the conference was actually going to be leaving around the time that conference was. So 3 will be there, the 4th will not. So I just took the 3 that are going to be there and register them as the delegate.
Okay. I think that meeting is Thursday, but I haven't seen the agenda yet. So it's the tail.
It's Thursday night.
It's Thursday evening, is the afternoon?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So end of the day, Thursday is when that annual meeting is. So that makes sense. So you've already registered Eric, John, and myself as the voting members?
Correct.
Awesome. I didn't even need to talk about it. All right.
I got a question.
Okay.
When you were talking about the change orders or where we're going to be, I had a question at the court over across there. Are they changing in there, or is it pretty nice in there?
They're getting carpet. Everybody gets new LED lighting and a new heating system and carpet.
Okay.
So pretty light touch over there. The back area doesn't get new carpet. We had it cleaned, and it gets very little traffic in the back of the court. So, Jay brought this up, and I've been researching it. Many government agencies do a tribal land acknowledgement, and KRCC does one. They recently, though, both tribes sit on that board and indicated that the one that KRCC uses really kind of misses the mark. So there's a body of work going on with the two tribes and KRCC, and I'd really like to see what it is that collaborative process brings forward and then bring that to you guys for your consideration versus us going through a body of work and having this acknowledgement that maybe doesn't respect the tribes in the proper way, is my thought. So, Councilmember Rosapip?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm good with letting it play out a little bit. My purpose on moving this to you was basically to acknowledge our history of Port Orchard and the reality that as people look at our history, it just doesn't, I forget what the small booklet is of all the pictures of Port Orchard, but it starts like in 1892 when Port Orchard was founded as Sydney, and it obviously goes a little bit deeper. So for people to, for us to acknowledge that these were tribal lands of indigenous people, I think is a movement in the right way to acknowledge our history. And I'm fine with waiting to see what KRCC is, because especially since there's two tribes involved and not just one. I appreciate that, and as long as we're moving the ball forward, then I'm happy with that. So thank you.
So you brought it up, and then we're working too, where can we put this on our website? And so more to come. I just want to see the body of work as it's completed by collaboratively with the tribes and what they come up with and whether it fits us too. So did you have a comment?
I just was going to say, in my day job, we've been working with the tribes to try and come up with one statement, and we haven't been able to. Okay. And it's largely a divide between, I think, maybe the Squaxin and the Suquamish about, and I'm just going to say who was there first, kind of. But UW has an acknowledgement that basically recognizes the peoples of the Salish Sea. So it kind of bridges that whole gap that people are arguing about between different, and we're trying to work with 5 tribes essentially, and it's not working very well for us.
I will Joe Dietz, the chair from Bainbridge Island, is the one leading this effort, so I'll poke him about it and how that's going when I see him first Tuesday of the month, so in another week. Brandy, could you bring that DNR lease up? The area, that map. And so we had a meeting last week, and I just want to share with you the direction I gave our consultants. It was our intent to not have any aspect of the community center to be on the DNR lease. Unfortunately, our whole waterfront is fill, and there are more than one survey that exists. And ultimately, the authority is the property owner. They have the hammer, and we could fight them on that. And so our consultants used one survey, and there's multiple surveys out there, and this is the survey that DNR wishes us to use. Now, we could fight DNR on it, but ultimately we have to negotiate a lease with them. And Charlie participated, and Nick and I participated in those meetings. So we are talking about 250 square feet, and it's the stairs to our deck and one little tiny 2 square foot corner of our deck. Now, we are going to make the argument that this is public space and we shouldn't have to pay for it anyway, unlike parking cars on it or having a building on it, but we won't know until later. But the last thing I want the consultants that design buildings aren't inexpensive. And I just felt that we needed to not touch the design of our building, accept whatever terms the DNR, what they're going to be. But we're talking 250 square feet. And Charlie, did you ever do a back of napkin calculation based on our current lease rate, which is for parking cars on it? And it's going to go up because the rate always
Nothing
goes
goes
up.
down.
But based on today's rate, what do you think we would be paying?
I did not do the back of the napkin, but the current lease rate, it would be no more, I think, than $13,000 per month, but that's
For a great big area.
for a great big area, so it'd be less than that.
Well, of course it would be.
Thank
I
you.
just,
I will get that and I will circulate that.
Could you do you know the square footage of that lease? And then you could come up with a square foot price, and then it's multiplying that times
Yes, let me do that real quick.
250.
So can I
square
just ask
feet.
this question? What is the process of getting that exemption? Can we add that to our advocacy efforts at Olympia next year and get that codified, or no? Okay.
Well, so that was my question, is do they have disposal guidelines, property surplus or disposal guidelines that,
Not sell us that property. It's
under a building?
not under a building.
No, I mean, it will be.
No, it will not.
No, it won't be? Okay.
It is the stairs to our deck
Stairs,
and a
okay.
corner of our deck. So that we are gonna attempt to make the argument that these are public accessible spaces, it's not a building, and that normally, like our trail across their lease, we won't have to pay them for that. We have a lease with them, but it'll have no monetary value. We're gonna attempt to make the same argument, but they're ultimately the ones that get to make that determination.
So just bear with me. If it is a public determination, public use determination, do we not have to pay a lease for that then?
We just don't have to pay for it. We still
Yeah.
have to lease it. It just doesn't cost us anything
Okay.
to lease it.
Got it.
I'm reaching here. Is there any way we could trade or mitigation for it? Okay. I told you I was reaching.
So Rob, is the red line what they say is the property line
orange.
and ours is the dotted, or what are we looking at?
Yeah, that is the one, that is the lease, that is the survey that they're wanting to use.
Is the red line?
Is
Okay.
the red line. And the other line that all of our improvements are slightly behind is the survey that we used. And it's fill. There's no, back in the day, that was the beach.
Is there a way you can come together
Yeah.
and mutually pick a surveyor?
We could,
Come together, pick somebody, and then what they say will.
I think we will spend more money on a process and it could contaminate our negotiations. It's their property and we have to really do it. If we want to lease their land, we got to play by their rules, is basically what we're being told.
Or is it their property based on what survey?
I think what Eric is saying is that you could have a third party come in and say, here's the mistake that both these surveys have made, or DNR's is correct. or-
Live and die with what that surveyor.
Charlie's been in direct negotiations with DNR, and I don't believe that's
Yeah.
a path that we would bear fruit for us.
Right, and I think I think that the suggestion is well taken, but it assumes that we have leverage, and we don't. We're not the landowner. We're not the lead. The DNR has all the leverage as far as which survey to be used. There's no room for us to offer an alternative perspective to the extent we want.
So we can't dispute the survey, is what you're saying?
We could potentially seek I can't speak to
We
legal risk,
could.
but I don't think it would be fruitful. I think
Yeah,
that.
I don't think we would prevail, and we would harm our negotiations when we're trying to we're likely going to get it for free anyway.
Okay.
So I just
Cross that bridge
didn't
when we
want
get
to, we had a meeting, I gave the consultant direction, because the question was, are we going to redesign the building? Are we going to dispute this? And I'm thinking, this is going to cost more
Right.
money than the lease
But
ever
we don't
would.
know how much it's costing yet.
Charlie's going to give us a worst-case scenario, but I don't think it's going to cost us anything. It shouldn't cost us anything, but that, once again, that's not our decision, it's DNR's.
We could put up a plaque for them.
How about that? You could
It is
negotiate that.
public, it is public access, it provides access to a public viewing area of the water in the mountains. It's no different than the pathway, in our opinion. So, anyway, just wanted, and Charlie's gonna do some down and dirty math, but I don't, it's 250 square feet. And we're, for 13,000, we're releasing an entire area. It's not gonna be very much money, I don't believe. I was at a transit board meeting a week ago or two, and I think it was last week, and they shared their origin and destination survey. And it was really eye-opening because it gave data on and rankings to every bus route and service that Kitsap Transit operates. And if you would have asked me before I got that data, what mode of transportation moves the most people per day at Kitsap Transit, I would have told you the fast ferry from Bremerton to downtown Seattle at 118 people a trip. It's number 2.
Worker driver?
Nope. Ferry from Port Orchard to Bremerton.
Uh,
And so anyway, I asked for some for them to drill down on that data so I could share, because the data we had was holistic and high level and just had rankings. Now, 54% of the riders in Kitsap Transit are commuters. So that is peaking in the morning and the afternoon and in the middle of the day. There aren't as many people riding that service, but it was very eye-opening. And when I get that data from Kitsap Transit, I'll bring it back and share it with you guys.
Makes sense.
I wouldn't have thought that, but I also had a phone call and I received a letter from Superintendent Tim Winters. We had a recent incident at the high school that we shared with you. The school district is asking that we bring back the school resource officer. I just shared with the chief, even if the city, I went back and talked to the city council and they said, let's find the money, let's fund that and put a police officer in the school. I don't have a police officer.
Yeah.
I don't have a police officer. And so.
Was it a whole one or a half one?
Their chiefs can speak to, it's during the school year. And
Yeah, so they covered, I believe, 3/4 of the salary and benefits, and because they were there for 9 months out of the year. But just as we have grown and the difficulties with the school have grown, even myself and the superintendent and the mayor don't believe that putting an SRO only, or bringing an SRO back in the same fashion that it was before, which is they're covering 3 schools to include the largest campus, high school campus in the state, is just not as tenable. So we're going to have some more conversations and explore what options we have. But to the mayor's point, I mean, if this is something that the council would be interested in, it's probably not as likely to be this upcoming school year because we would have to hire and train. Yes, sir.
No, I remember the days back when I was at the district office, and they had an SRO, and that was before they had their own security on that. So, I mean, they still have a security team up there, and I hate to say it, I'm not in favor of that at this point in time, as shorthanded as we are within the city. So that's my 2 cents.
And I told the superintendent, it is not even, we can't even fathom it right now. And I just would bring the request to you guys. If you want to consider in the future, as a future discussion, I will say that we're hiring as fast as we can, and we have our own challenges that we're trying to deal with, from crime and traffic enforcement, and I would hate to see us take a step backwards on those initiatives as we get fully staffed. So, but ultimately, it's your decision. I'm just communicating the request that was given to me from, we could throw it into the budget mix next year, and you guys we can talk about it more then, whether it gets funded or not funded.
I'd definitely like to talk about it more. I'm in favor.
There's 16 or 17 total schools, between alternative schools, between middle schools, 12, 13 elementary schools, the high school. I think the school district needs to come up with a plan. Us giving them 1 officer part-time is at the high school. There's issues at the junior highs, just like there is at the high school. I mean, literally on the same page like there is at the high school. And again, there's alternative schools. There's a lot more schools than people realize in this district that have students in them.
And my discussion isn't all monetary, right? Like, I want to talk about policy, right? We've seen nationwide some of the issues that we've had in school districts with SROs, and so I think there's a lot to discuss, but I think I'd like to have those discussions.
Well, and as Jay mentioned, they do have their own prevention team working within the school district. They should be able to handle, in my opinion, a majority of those issues. I fully support being a third-party back-end support group, but we do have a lot of challenges currently and coming for traffic and safety for our community citizens as well. So I would like to have further conversation personally.
All right. Just got the request, and I'll throw it into the list that as we work through the budget process, and we'll have more conversation about it. So I finally, I know Fred is pushing hard for rental assistance versus, and I was finally able, Tony Ives and I finally connected last week. He gave me a thumbnail sketch of what it could look like. Noah and I haven't connected on this yet, so we're going to meet sometime this week, I hope, or next week. He's a little underwater right now, just coming back. So to talk about what an agreement would look like. We did at Housing Kitsap today. I would say the lion's share, if we do a program like this, the lion's share of these dollars would likely be helping folks that are already at Housing Kitsap. Okay, they fall behind on their rent. My concern with a program like this is, we just talked about this at the Housing Kitsap Board meeting today, and the amount of delinquent rent, and there's individuals that just aren't paying, and then they seek these programs out like this, which catches their rent up and resets everything, but they continue to not pay their rent. And I don't know that we're helping people in that. So I think this needs to be somewhat structured from a standpoint, not to perpetuate situations and repeat offenders. So there's some work to be done in an agreement on the structure of this agreement. And also, we today at Housing Kitsap, we've been working. We put in the budget those home improvement dollars for low income, and it's 4 households, I believe it is. And Housing Kitsap approved on their side today that agreement between us and the city, and I shared with them that it would be at our first meeting. It's about $42,000, if I remember right. And we've got, so I think we should start. My concern is, earlier we started with with KCR, and they didn't perform. Okay, so I don't think we should have all of our eggs in one basket, because if we sign an agreement, then we're tying all of our dollars up. So I'm thinking something in the $20,000-$25,000 range, maybe, because I think we have that or more in that fund balance. So I'll report back what we, and do an agreement that gets us through the end of the year, see how it looks, and then as we go through our budget process, how do we want to, allocate the roughly $60,000 a year that we get on these funds. So, Councilmember Rosa Pepe?
No, I just wanted to bring up that was on the news in Seattle, the same issue about catching people up. I can't remember the organization that was handling that, but they were having the same issue about delinquency of rents and then resetting the clock and then going delinquent again. And it was impacting, obviously, the people who were renting the properties. So
I think, I would hope that we're a safety net for a one-time event.
Right.
And not, anyway, Housing Kitsap would love to have our money. But I want to make sure that we're being impactful in how we do this. So anyway, I just got Tony's proposal end of last week, and I need to chat about it and start to work towards getting an agreement put together.
And I got a question. And are you looking like maybe for another agency where you can also give, another agency to put money here, and then Kitsap Housing?
I've been working on this for 4 years, and I've yet to find anybody. I hope, and I put a bug in Andrew Kane's ear that whether or not Amica House, whether they're, I have told them what we can do with $1,406. I said, I hope your organization is structured in a way that we could provide you some operational dollars to help. And he said he would look into it. So I would love to see us doing multiple organizations and helping, and it's just, we haven't been able, to this point, haven't been able to find it. We've entered into a number of times into different contractors organizations, they just haven't delivered. So more to come.
I got a few in mind. I'll talk to you later.
But it's very targeted in how we can use it. It's that ends my mayor's report. Department heads, Mr. Ryan.
I just wanted to take a moment and thank each person here about the Public Works reorganization. It was a huge undertaking, and the support is very thankful for it. It sends a great message to our crew and our ops folks. And I specifically want to thank Debbie and Beth because the workers.
Just a moment. Oh. Jeannie, can you unmute the Zoom card? I'm told Brandy's asking.
I believe that was a message from earlier.
Oh, was it? Okay. Maybe it happened already.
Oh, yep, it should be good.
All right. Sorry. Dennis.
No, but huge thanks to Beth and Debbie because this was a huge undertaking, and Noah and Rebecca also tremendous help because there's a budget component. So it's appreciative. It's going to bring great things to the department. So thank you.
Crocker, what do you know?
I know a lot, but for tonight's, I don't have a whole lot to share, other than I do want to connect with the Finance Committee after this. I didn't realize that several of you will be at AWC June 18th, which would have been our Finance Committee meeting date. So I just kind of want to strategize around that, because I think I have some information I want to share and go through in that meeting in particular, because the 25th, I'd like to bring back a budget amendment to the full council. I want to make sure that the Finance Committee's been fully briefed.
And I will be leaving on Monday, because I'm chairing a committee down there. So I'm pretty much unavailable that whole week. I'll be down there all week, so.
Well, we can talk offline either tomorrow, Rob, and we'll circle back.
I might be making some phone calls to figure out calendars. All right, Debbie.
Thank you. I just want to echo Dennis's thank you to the council for your support with the work that we've been working on for 6 or more months now. So that support is immensely appreciated. And we were working, and then it all came to a head very quickly. So again, thank you to Noah and his staff and Rebecca stepping in really, truly at the 11th hour. Helping out in Noah's absence. So thank you to your team as well, Noah.
I was able to make a back of the napkin, very rough assessment. In $2005, the rent for the portion of the Kitsap Bank structure that encroached on the lease was $21.95. And there's an automatic inflator for CPI each year, plus there's another inflator that's negotiated between the parties, so I don't know what that is. But using a CPI calculator from Google, we can estimate that for 250 square feet, it would be $8,809.21 per year. Again, that's caveated with
250 square, I don't.
Isn't 250 square feet the?
Yes, but they're paying $13,000 for.
No, 13,000 was false. The square footage that they encroach currently is $7,492, and they pay $21 per square foot.
$21 per square foot times 250.
Which was, that would be in $2,005.
Yeah. Correct, but it's not $8,000. I can assure you it's not $8,000.
No, I'm again, math's not my strong suit, but I got $5,000.
That sounds about correct.
Okay. In $2005, it was about $5,000, and then if you do the CPI
for the entire bank site.
No, for just the portion that encroached.
$250.
$21.
So she's doing the inflation math on top of that. So
I did the inflation on top of that, so it would be $8,809 per year, not per month.
For 250 square feet.
Correct. That's back of the napkin, and it's also a commercial rate the bank was paying, as opposed to what we would be entitled to, which would optimistically be less. But I would say that number is on the low side.
I'm just going to remain cautiously optimistic about hiring and share some information with you guys. So we did have a lateral start on May 20th, and he is going to the Equivalency Academy. I will, as hard as it is to swallow sometimes, I will give our Criminal Justice Academy some credit this time around. They have actually even increased the Equiv Academy, so he will be in Vancouver for the next 2 weeks starting on Monday. Normally, all of those are held in Burien, but it is allowing all of our agencies to move faster. And then we have a brand new hire starting on June 5th, and Debbie and Beth were nice enough to get us a couple of interviews coming up on this Friday. One is a lateral, one is a new hire. So we're hoping to be closer to being full by the end of the year. But as all of you know, I can hire somebody, and if it's a new person, it's 12 months before they're on their own, and it's still 16, 18 weeks if they're a lateral. So appreciate the patience as we work hard in the background. Am I already behind?
You have an entry level June 5.
Yeah.
And lateral.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry. And we also hired a lateral from New Hampshire who will be starting on June 24th.
That's why you need HR.
That's why I need HR. We did take a look. We sat down for a command staff meeting because since I was gone all of last week, we've hired 9 people in the last 12 months.
Nice work.
Anything with the clerk's office, Janine?
I don't, but maybe Brandy does.
Do you have anything to share?
I don't have anything to report tonight. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and now we've got our second citizen comment period. Anyone wishing to address the city council this evening? Step to the microphone. No? All right. Anybody online? You can use the raise your hand feature.
There's no members of the public online, Mayor.
All right. Nobody's rushing the microphone, so we'll close the second citizen comment period. We don't have an executive session planned. Is there anything for the good of the order?
I'd like to go last.
You'd like to go last. Anybody else got anything for the good of the order?
I do.
Okay.
Brandy, correct me where I be wrong here, but we discussed, I think Brandy sent out an email to everybody if they want to sign up for whatever dates they would want with copy of the council. And so I just encourage everybody to sign up, get that out there, and down the road, if someone can't make it, we can just trade out, so pretty easy, so.
I filled that out and sent it over to Brandy, but my comment was, in case somebody can't make it, the person who can't make it should be obligated to find a
someone
replacement.
else.
Yeah.
Yes, instead of,
Are there people for this weekend?
Yeah, but who's going?
so, that's what I was gonna ask next. Yeah, that's why I'm glad we're doing the calendar. Who would like to join Saturday?
I'm out of town.
So Jay's out of town.
I will put myself as a backup. I have family in town, and
No worries.
part of my good of the order is my son graduates high school on Sunday.
Yes.
So I would love to not, but if I need be a third, I will throw myself.
I'm out too.
Fred, are you
Out of town.
You're out too? No worries at all. No worries.
On the outreach front too, Brandy and I met with the farmer's market.
Yes.
But Noah's been gone, so we haven't talked to him about this yet, so he's shaking his head already. Our membership, looks like we're gonna opt for a $2,000 membership, and they're working on getting us a bill for, an invoice for that and what all that'll entail, but that'll give us outreach opportunities in a booth whenever we want it at the farmer's market too.
Awesome.
So that's in the works. Brandy and I met with them last week.
And so we do have plans to visit the community from the farmer's market on Saturdays as well?
Anytime you want it, if you wanted a booth there. I know Nick is gonna have times where planning's gonna use it, engineering group's gonna use it to talk about projects and do outreach. So the staff's gonna have some needs too, but we can utilize, we've got a tent and, feel free, you got folks walking by all day long down there at that farmer's market. So if you want to use that space, it's available. Other good of the order. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
if you can just make sure that if council does want to use the space for the farmer's market, just let me know because I do need to let them know when we're going to be utilizing it so they have space available. And then I'll be coordinating with Nick and DCD and Public Works to see what days they're going to be down there. So yeah, if there's some dates, let me know and I will run it by the farmer's market to make sure
We
that
have beds
it's
and
available.
tables and everything to help out with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I already called out my son Jackson and his deal, so there's that. But I really wanted to call out a couple of folks from last weekend that did some great work. First, a thank you to Mayor Pratanzu and Chief Brown for participating in the Seagull Calling Contest as judges. If you haven't had the opportunity to visit the Port Orchard Bay Street Association's Facebook page, I'm not sure where else that landed, but there was some excellent pictures of the judges. Additionally, I'd like to call out that we're standing amongst royalty here. You may not know it, but Heidi Fenton was the winner of the Seagull Calling Contest. So really, it's about saying thank you, showing up in force. I was able to take a quick lap just through it. I had to work, but they had a great turnout, and it was just nothing but positivity for the city. So great job to the POPSA Group, our merchant association down there, for putting on the first annual Mosquito Fleet Fest. That's hard to say, but thank you for supporting it as well.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on that, yeah, I thought the Mosquito Fleet Fest turned out really great. There's a lot of people down there. You got the farmers market and then a lot more vendors. And then, you know, the Virginia 5, man, that was amazing. I just toured it. I didn't get a ride on it. But yeah, it's just really cool. And then the kids were way better than me. I sounded like a sick seagull. I don't know how I went. Oh yeah, I bribed the judges.
I heard there was bribery involved.
Bribery, and I threw out a bunch of hot dogs, little pieces of hot dogs for the seagulls. So maybe that got it.
They'll eat anything. All right, any last good of the order? Yeah, Jay.
Yep. A couple things. One, I was going to say the same thing about downtown weekend. It was unbelievable. The mosquito fleet, it was just jam-packed. I came down at 4 o'clock to pick up Susan, and they were doing a book sale at the library, and could not believe how many people were riding, and the vendors. Lady Washington is operating out of Port Orchard. You can go to their website and see what events are. If you want to take a ride out to the sound on Lady Washington, I'd strongly recommend it. I did it several years ago, and it was a lot of fun. Question for the council and not an answer. I'm not looking for an answer today. We have coffee with the council. We sometimes meet, we get asked to meet with a group. I was asked to just come down and talk to the First Lutheran men's group breakfast. I sent a couple of questions off to the mayor who answered them. And so my question is, how do we gather all this information that, you know, are questions that we get, and then make sure that we get the information to all of us, because we can't send it out to all of us, you know, on that. So I'm not looking for an answer tonight. It's just something to think about, because we've had coffee with the council, and quite frankly, we haven't all gotten the feedback. And so we need to kind of think about how we're going to do this as we meet with different groups.
I have a recommendation. If you want something shared with the full council, you need to write an email to the clerk.
Okay.
She would be the appropriate person to disseminate that out to the full council.
That'd be great. So if we could all commit to that, that would be awesome. And last but not least, I'm truly guilty of this, and I apologize both to Fred and to Scott, because I keep forgetting they're back here, and I can see everybody else here, but I can't see them. Sometimes we talk over each other. We just had Robert's rules, and kind of the mayor asks or acts kind of as our, kind of guide. So, we need to avoid talking over each other, and wait till the other person finishes. That would be helpful, and just something to think about. And everybody have a great week. The weather's getting better. That's it for me. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye. Motion from Jay.
We only got one vote. I would encourage, I haven't been down there yet today, but walk on your way.
Recording stopped.
Oh, two?
It's getting close.
Nice.
handed out cards to them and you didn't hand out anything to me, and I'm going like, hey. How you doing?
Yeah.
This is, I'm Jay Rosepepe, and you're running as a nonpartisan.
Yes.
That's always a big one in my boat.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Now I have one big question.
Yes.
Do you believe 2024 election was fair and our 2020 election was fair and honest? In other words, not an election was fair.
Yes, I would think that.
You could do better.
Yeah.
I work in the elections office.
Oh, really?
Well, only on a temporary work.
Okay.
Yes, that's my bottom line right there. Yeah. You can reach to the council. Love to chat sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I didn't know if you had run out.
No, I ran out of the ones that had my name on them, so I'll write it down. Yeah.
I wish every
Yes.
I think it takes a lot of the rest of the That's why I was just gonna say different.
Yeah, so.